Tony, how are you, man?
Hey, doing great, Walter. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing amazing. Thank you so much to you, and thank you so much for everybody for joining in. This is Cruise Chat Live. I am Walter, owner of Where's Walter Travel. I'm an independent travel advisor, and Tony has been gracious enough to come on the show tonight, and we're just going to see what happens for the next hour-ish, right? Talk some cruising.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And first and foremost, I want to salute. Tony and I actually met under not the best of circumstances. We met during the life celebration of our dear friend Sean Mullen. Today happens to be Sean's birthday. And so in his honor, I have a Jameson Old Fashioned. So Sean, happy birthday to you, my friend. Cheers, and cheers to Stephanie. Cheers to you, Tony.
Cheers to you, Walter. Cheers to Sean and Steph.
And if you are not subscribed to the Sean and Steph channel, please go over there right now and subscribe to that channel. Amazing, amazing people. So thank you so much, Tony, for joining us. Thank you, everybody. I see some folks are already in the chat. Nice to see you guys tonight. So, Tony, you have been traveling like freaking nonstop, I think. I don't know when it's all going to end for you, but I would love to know, like when did you start cruising? You know, how many cruises do you think you've been on so far?
So I went on my very first cruise in April of 2017, and that really started a whirlwind. I went on that first cruise really at the urging of my wife, the lovely Jenny B, and we got the bug. We got the bug right away for cruising, and at the same time, we started making some content for YouTube, and so it all kind of combined together and snowballed. And I think at this point, you know, even including the time that we couldn't cruise with the shutdown, I think I just hit 45 or 46 cruises across 10 cruise lines since April of 2017. And I've finally been knocking off some big, you know, bucket list spots on the cruise list. So, you know, this year I've been to Australia, New Zealand. I did my first Transatlantic just last month, and, you know, went to Norway and Denmark and the Netherlands and to Scotland and to the UK. And so I'm really starting to stretch my sea legs out a little bit and go to some exotic places in the world. So it's been a heck of a 6-year adventure.
I guess so. And I love what you said. You said you've been on 10 cruise lines. So we're going to be on our 9th cruise line when we step onto MSC in a week. And I just think, you know, I know there are people who love Carnival. I love Royal. I love. But there's something to be said about just getting out there and exploring cruising.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think what I really like about the cruise industry is that there is such a variety that you can sample. And I truly believe it, that there is a cruise line out there for everyone. And so sometimes I feel bad when I hear someone that gets really disgruntled with their favorite cruise line, but yet they haven't tried another. I mean, that's really why they're out there, so that you can try, you know, and find what you're really into. And you know, you know, you're doing the work that you do, you can sit down and talk to somebody, and because of the diversity and the experience that you've had, you're able to recommend a cruise line. I love it. You know, in the 45 cruises, I've had some cruises that I've liked better than others, but I never come away like with a bad feeling about cruising. And I like the fact that there's so much to sample from. It's really like a cruise smorgasbord out there, which is beautiful.
It is. It is. And of course, we have to mention Miss Jenny, too, who's an amazing travel advisor as well. And I think that's one of the things that we bring to it, right? It's like, well, what did you not like about that last cruise? Let's talk about that. And I bet we can find another ship for you, because there's just so many ships out there that a lot of people may not have thought of because they didn't think to go try another cruise line.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So I do want to start out by talking about that TA. So Transatlantic is something I've always wanted to do. And you went on the amazing Holland America Rotterdam, brand new ship, gorgeous ship. So I'm kind of curious. So what did you expect before you kind of went on the ship, and then maybe, you know, how was that trip overall? Did it meet expectations? Did it exceed expectations?
So it definitely exceeded expectations. I tend to be a little spontaneous. So I booked that cruise 8 days before it sailed. So I went from having no thought process, not even really knowing that the cruise existed, to 8 days later flying to New York and jumping on that cruise. I think I had some preconceived notions about what a transatlantic would be like. I thought maybe it would be arduous. Maybe it would feel like a long time to cross the sea. And man, it was beautiful. It was great. It was 8 straight sea days. And it was such a relaxing time, a productive time, just a wonderful time to be on the sea, just a wonderful time to reflect about, you know, being a cruiser and being kind of one with the ocean, all that weird spiritual stuff that a lot of us cruisers get into. But that part was beautiful. And then after those 8 sea days, it was go, go, go. That was the interesting thing. Like, my next cruise is to the UK, and it's port day after port day. And so it was really an interesting dichotomy of this really super restful experience and this really, busy experience at the same time. So it's, it was wild, but I really enjoyed the Transatlantic. It exceeded expectations.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. So now that you've done one, is there anything that you do differently? I wasn't expecting this, but is there anything for anybody thinking about a transatlantic? Is there anything that you might do differently next time?
So the thing that, because I booked it so quickly, I didn't get to do a lot of pre-planning for the port stops. And so that's what I would do differently. You know, leaving from New York, I have a whole itemized bucket list of things I would like to do in New York. And I didn't prepare for any of it. Like, there's a comedy club that I want to go to there. I'd love to go see a Broadway show. There's a camera shop that I want to go to see there. And so I really was behind the 8 ball a little bit when it came to planning. And then I just stuck with the cruise ship excursions because I felt like that was going to be the easiest. I probably could have had I had some great tours through the cruise line. Yeah. Holland America does a great job with their Shorex, but I feel like I could have maybe planned better, but it was overall, like, the way I approach it anyways is like, you know, the fact that I'm getting to have a good time is just a blessing anyway. So it was, I came away from it really, really enriched.
That's awesome, man. That's totally awesome. I'm betting it's B&H Camera in New York is the one you want to go to.
B&H would have been it. Yeah, I didn't anticipate. They were closed for Passover, and I was like, I really would have liked to go to B&H and seen what's going on over there. So
yeah, that is a candy land. That is a total candy land, toy land when you eventually get into it. And definitely, man, we got to get you in to see a Broadway show. I grew up in the Hudson Valley, New York, so I grew up on Broadway seeing shows. Yeah. So yeah, I got to get you to a Broadway show. Are there any particular tips? Now, you talked about, maybe pre-planning, but for anybody who's watching this, and I'm thinking about doing my first transatlantic or my first trans-Pacific or my first long, 20, 30-day cruise, you got any couple of tips for folks thinking about it?
My biggest tip, like, there's 2 ways to approach, like the tactical part of cruising is lugging your stuff from one place to another. And what I've found is I'm doing these longer cruises where you got to go to different airports, or you're on and off cruise ships, or maybe you're staying at a hotel or something like that. I try to pack as light as possible, and I go ahead and bake into my thought process a schedule for doing laundry or having the cruise ship do my laundry. So on that trip, I only took, I think, 5 days worth of clothes. I was gone for maybe 26, 27 days. I only took 5 days worth of clothes. And so I knew that every few days I would have to cycle out my clothes for the laundry, but it allowed me to pack light. It allowed me to travel easily, you know, through the airports and those kind of things. And I think that was a big win for me, because I've been on other trips where I've taken way too much stuff and it's just a hassle to have to drag that stuff around. So I think long trip, it's easy to, you know, make sure you take clothes where you got something warm, you got something that's not so warm, you know, have a nice layer strategy going. But I think that was the big thing that made that. And then, of course, go ahead and do some research on the countries that you're going to understand what your paperwork requirement is. That's the worst thing. You don't want to get into a situation like the day before I went, I realized that there were still some countries that may needed a copy of my vaccination record. I never got asked for it, but it was right there in the documentation. So I went ahead and made sure that I had that documentation, because I don't want anything to hold me up, you know, at that spot.
It's really good, Tony. Yeah, and especially when you're doing something like that with so many countries, that, you know, just be prepared for everything, right?
Yeah.
And great with the clothes. I mean, so many people is like, oh, I got to pack 30 days worth of clothes. No, you don't. There's a whole laundry service on the ship, so take advantage of it, right?
Absolutely. Jenny was asking for the link, so I was telling her where to go to look at the show here. Yeah. But yeah, the laundry service is, the laundry service is the best too. Most of the cruise lines will have an individual laundry service. So you just want to calculate how many times you're going to do the laundry. But a lot of them have get your laundry done as much as possible for like $70. I think it was $65 or $70 to have my laundry done for the whole 23 days. And yeah. And you could do it as much as you wanted. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I've seen it like on 14-day cruises where they're like, you know, fill the bag for $20 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I like that. It's almost like a drink package for laundry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. Hey, Tony, have you been on the Celebration or the Mardi Gras yet?
I've been on both, actually. Yeah, I really like both of those cruise ships. To me, I think in these big ideas. And so I saw the Mardi Gras and the Celebration as being Carnival trying to evolve into the next modern level of cruising. You go on those ships and you see where they've taken pieces from other cruise lines and really incorporated that. I like both of those ships quite a bit. I think I enjoyed the Celebration even more than I did the Mardi Gras.
And the Jubilee, I can't wait to see this. Jared, I know what I'm going to say, but Jared is asking on the Celebration in July, any must-do eats? Tony, you go first.
Celebration, I really liked Emerald's. Now, Emerald's was an upcharge, but it was a very reasonable upcharge, and the food was fresh and it was delicious. I enjoyed that quite a bit. I really leveraged a lot of the so we had anytime dining. When you have anytime dining on the Celebration, you can dine in the main dining room. You could also dine in Cucina del Capitano. You can also dine in Chibang. And so we did Chibang and Cucina several times just because the menu was, different flair than the main dining room. I thought the service was a little bit faster. But both of those, and then, of course, all the included options on Carnival. I mean, you could just spend all day eating there. Street eats, Blue Iguana, Guy's Burger. Shaq's Big Chicken is good. Like, if you've never been on the Celebration or the Mardi Gras, try a couple menu items off of Shaq's Big Chicken. They've got breakfast. They've got lunch. And then the deli and the pizza spot. On the Celebration, it's themed toward Miami. And so they have some pizza offerings on the Celebration that they don't have on any other cruise ships. They have some deli like selections not on any other cruise ship. So there's a lot of good eats to have on the Celebration.
So for me, it's Shaq Big Chicken, the Aristotle sandwich. Love that. Blue Iguana was amazing. Breakfast, lunch. And then what actually blew us away was Rudy's Sea Grill. I don't know if you had an opportunity to eat
I didn't
there,
do Rudy's, no. Yeah.
Oh, that was actually one of the best, people are like, oh, well, Carnival cheap. Carnival doesn't have. It was one of the best meals I've ever had on a cruise ship was Rudy's Sea Grill. And at the time, it was only $38 per person. So
that's reasonable, yeah.
Yeah,
that's the one thing. Regardless of what the base food is on most of these cruise lines that I've been on, they respect the fact that if you go to a specialty restaurant, that they have to provide you with good food. So, even on the lines that aren't well regarded for their included main dining room or buffet or whatever, most of the time the specialty is stepped up a little bit. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, usually. Kathy has an interesting question. Kathy, I'm just going to say that airfares are all over the place right now. Tony, you've been flying a lot. The airfare can literally change by $100 over about 15 minutes. So, Tony, what's your advice on this one?
Man, my advice really is book it as soon as you think about it, because I've waited. I've thought about it. I've looked at some pricing, and it seems like every time I go back in after I've looked at the pricing, it's usually more expensive. So I've really started landing on, if I've got the feeling that I should go ahead and book my air, then I just go ahead and book my air. But when you're in there booking your air, though, if you have any flexibility in your dates, like when you come home or when you leave, if you can add a date, sometimes it's less expensive to add an extra day to your stay, pay for a hotel, than the price difference between the 2 days in your airfare. So if you have the flexibility to mess with your schedule a little bit, and a lot of airlines will show you multiple days so that you can see that, I would definitely explore staying longer or going in earlier to get a better deal.
That is a really good point. In fact, a lot of cruises are Saturday to Saturday, Sunday to Sunday. And if you can fly home on Monday or Tuesday instead of Saturday or Sunday, you're generally going to save money. And like you said, the hotel is probably going to be cheaper than that extra flight cost.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Hey, Danielle, thank you for the shout out. You're going to be on your first cruise with Virgin next month, and my food review helped. Good. Tony, you've been on Virgin, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Scarlet Lady, just one time. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, we got. I'll tell you what. You're invited right now to come join us November 18th, Valiant Lady, 8 nights if you can do it. But Virgin Voyages food, good stuff, right?
Yeah, I really like what they've done with the food on Virgin Voyages. Basically, the thing that I like about Virgin that we've been tracking along with for a couple of years is whether or not they would be disruptive to traditional cruising, and would that disruption be positive or negative? I think a real positive disruption is their approach to food on a cruise ship. They completely revamped the buffet concept. They completely revamped the main dining room concept. And really what you ended up with in the main dining room selections is a bunch of specialty restaurants where the food is really good and it's included. And so, it's, I tell you, Virgin definitely, there's a few cruise lines out there that I feel like are foodie cruise lines, but Virgin's definitely one that if you're a foodie, you can go and have a good time. And the shame is that those Virgin cruises and the 8-day that you're talking about is really enticing because it's so long. Most of these Virgin cruises are short, and so you have a challenge trying all the good food. So you're positioned well, I think, in November to try some good restaurants.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm pricing Virgin against other people, I mean, Virgin usually, the only reason why Virgin will lose out is because it's a 5 or 4, and then Celebrity and everybody else is 7 or 8. Usually it's Celebrity versus Virgin because they're very close. But I really love the gratuities, the Wi-Fi, the soft drinks, the food. I mean, it just makes it so simple, right? Everything's wrapped in. You don't have to think about it. And personally, I know there's a love-hate relationship with the bar tab. I actually love the bar tab concept versus a drinks package. I mean, myself, I don't know how you feel about that, but I do love, I wish other cruise lines would at least roll the Wi-Fi and the gratuities in and just say, here, let's just forget about it. It's in there.
Yeah, I like the idea of, so one thing that's always challenged me a little bit with cruising is the gratuity process. It was interesting, I guess years ago, before I started cruising, there was no assigned gratuity. There was no automatic gratuity or service fee added to your folio. And it was just up to you, your discretion to tip the people that you wanted to tip on the cruise ship. And then, what I understand is that the industry transformed their thinking a little bit, whether it was because they felt like people weren't getting tipped enough or whether they were doing it for another reason. But the idea came along that, hey, we're going to put this assigned gratuity on what we think you should tip at the minimum. And that way it's going to make it easier for you. And what we ended up with is just this weird process of the cruise line's going to assign me a gratuity, but then I'm still looking at a person that I feel like I should hand money to, like say my room steward at the end of the cruise. And so now I'm in this, am I in a double tipping situation, that kind of thing. And so that was really refreshing when I went on Virgin. Two really refreshing things: the no kids, the adult only, changed the vibe of that cruise, which was interesting. And then the fact that you didn't have to worry about gratuities and nobody was mad about it, right? And so it was odd. Like I'm in the casino, I like to gamble, and I like to tip the dealers, right? Like I like to make a bet for the dealers, that kind of thing. And even when I was trying to tip the dealers, they were looking at me like, "Hey, look, you know, we're not really a tipping place." And I'm like, wow, it's wild to even be in a place where that kind of thing. So I was going to ask you about the bar tab though. So I don't really drink that much most of the time. If I haven't gotten some sort of included drink package, I'm just buying drinks as I go. So what's the bar tab? Like you can load up a certain dollar amount or that kind of thing. Yeah.
So so before the cruise, you got to do it before the cruise starts. I think you can do it up to like 1 day before the cruise, maybe 2 days before the cruise. And it's in $300 increments. So you put down 300, Virgin tops it off with $50 or $100 on top. And you can buy 300, 600, 900. And basically what the bar tab is, it's for the cabin. So it's not per person. And that's what it is. It's literally $300 to spend on alcohol. There's no, oh, you can get this level of beer. You can get that level of beer. It's like you've got $300. What do you want to spend it on? And you can spend it on anybody. Like if Tony, you and I are sitting there, I can buy you a drink using my bar tab because it's literally a bar tab. And of course, you know, they've been giving it away of late. So we're getting a $600 bar tab on that 8-night cruise. That was included by Virgin Voyages. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah.
So that's what I like.
If it's something that you paid for yourself and you don't use all of your bar tab, does that just get returned to you like in an onboard credit or?
No, it is a use it or lose it. So what we recommend is, so if you have a bar tab left over, you can't go to the store and buy, you know, a bottle of whatever, but you can go to the bar and you can buy a bottle of whatever. So if you want to buy a bottle of scotch, you can go to the bar and say, hey, I've got $50 left on my bar tab. Let me buy a bottle of scotch and I'll put down whatever is extra on it. So yeah, it is a use it or lose it. Kind of like, you know, a drink package, you use it or lose it.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting.
Yeah, so that's how that works. So yeah, I'm telling you, man, November 18th, 8 nights on the Valiant Lady, Thanksgiving.
I don't know if Jenny B's watching yet, but put that on the calendar.
Jenny, I'm telling you, November 18th, take a look, man. We got sea terraces left on that cruise. Book yourself and Tony and come on the cruise. That would be a blast.
Yeah, I think I really think she would like Virgin, so I'd love to get her.
Oh, Jenny hasn't been on yet. Oh, Jenny, come on.
No. Yeah.
Oh, Jenny, you will absolutely flat out love Virgin Voyages. I'm telling you, come on, let's do it. Great question from Mara, and I get this question a lot. Tony, is HAL only for old people?
Yes.
I'll let you go.
Yes, HAL is only for old people. So this is a video I've been trying to get worked out. So yes, HAL is only for old people. And then also, no, HAL is not only for old people. So what happens is it just depends where you're cruising from, honestly. So I've spent over 30 days this year on Holland America line. It's the first time I'd gone on Holland when I went down to Australia and jumped on the Noordam and went to New Zealand. So I cruised for over 10 days with people from Australia, essentially. Then I did this Transatlantic where I was on a cruise ship primarily with people who had gotten on in Fort Lauderdale and New York. And we did the crossing. And then we got to Rotterdam, and a lot of people got off, and then more people got on. And the people that got on was a different crowd than the people that were on the Transatlantic. Then that 5-day cruise ended in Amsterdam, and people got on in Amsterdam, families with kids that were spring breaking, and we had a 5-day Amsterdam to Amsterdam cruise. And so I can tell you that the crowd that was on that Australia cruise was different than the crowd that was on the Transatlantic. That was different than the crowd that got on in Rotterdam. That was different than the crowd that got on in Amsterdam. And so I can definitively say that, yes, Holland is only for old people, and no, Holland isn't only for old people. So I'm going to have to spend a little more time in a video breaking that down for you. But I will share this it was a big celebration for Holland America. So at Rotterdam, they had a bunch of kind of their people that work for Holland America, some dignitaries get on to celebrate their 150th year anniversary. And I was able to talk, I think it was kind of a leader in the sales organization. I don't want to misquote who he was. And I asked him the same question that we all ask. Is Holland America just for old people? Are you trying to market to a younger demo? And he said, you know what? We don't really worry about it. We just talk about the strengths of Holland America line. We talk about the good food. We talk about the good music. We talk about the kind of laid back environment where it's not a lot of water slides, but it's, you know, they do have a kids club, that kind of thing. And I thought that was a really reasonable approach to it. Certainly, maybe that means that some older folks gravitate to it in the U.S., but it was filled with kids when we were in Amsterdam. So a great question with not a simple answer. And I hope to have my review of the Rotterdam out soon, and I'll go into that question even more. But I hope that gives a little insight.
No, that's fantastic, Tony. I think you answered it perfectly. I mean, they really have leaned into music. Their music venues are amazing. I think it's I want to say it's like a mature crowd, if you will. That doesn't mean they're young, they're old. It's just, you know, you don't have a lot of the flashy on Holland America. It's just a very classic cruise line. The pools are gorgeous. The ships are stunning. Yeah. And it's great music. I mean, if you're looking for the loud, the flashy, you want things to do up on the top deck, it's not the ship for you. But if you just want a really nice cruise ship where you're going to be taken care of for the whole cruise, good cruise ship.
It was beautiful hardware. The cabin was one of the nicest cabins I'd stayed in. The food was outstanding. An insight that I had that was interesting. So this year, my mom, I'm 52 this year. My mom is 72 this year, and my father, if he was still alive, he would have been 80. And I remember very distinctly in the late 1970s that they went and they took dance lessons. They took disco dance lessons. And I don't know if it's true for that whole generation, but it seems like that generation of my parents were dancers. And even the generation before that, my grandparents' generation, they were dancers. And so what I noticed on Holland America line is when you're starting to look at people in their 70s and 80s on that cruise line, they're dancers. And it just reminded me of like, that was something my parents did. And so in addition to having an interesting variety of music, you know, like this is how I judge the rock band. Like if they play Freebird, if they can go into the jam solo part of Freebird at the end and it's good, you know, you got a good jam band. They had a great rock band on the Rotterdam, but they also had a great blues band, and they also had great dueling pianos. And in every venue where dancing was available, people danced. And so I think to me, that's starting to form the opinion of what that crowd is like that gravitates to Holland America. But maybe it is an older demo, but I enjoyed the ship quite a bit.
It might be an older demo, but it's a fun demo is what you're saying.
For sure. Absolutely.
And we have Jenny. Jenny B is watching the show right now. So Jenny, November 18th, Valiant Lady. Take a look at that cruise. 8 nights. You got to come on Virgin Voyages with us. We would love to have you there. Right, Tony?
Where's it sailing out of? Is it
it's Miami.
Okay. Other than the Miami part, it sounds like a great. Yeah. So Jenny, something to consider. Go on the Valiant Lady.
Consider Valiant Lady. Please, Jenny. Please, Jenny.
I don't think we have anything in November anyway. So it might be good.
You don't have anything in November, Jenny. That's what he just said. It's Thanksgiving. It's going to be a holiday. Right. And I mean, come on. No, somebody's saying peer pressure for the Jenny show. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jen Cohen. I appreciate that. No. But seriously, if you guys could come along, oh my God, we could have so much fun. And Tony, you and I were talking about doing a live together at some point. Wouldn't that be fun? Do it from a
that'd be in person. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God, this would be amazing. All right, somebody else is going on the road. I'm just trying to see if we have any questions. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in and saying hi and hanging with us tonight. Somebody's going on the Rotterdam in November. Awesome. Well, Tony's going to have a lot of content coming out for you very shortly, right?
Absolutely.
And Jenny, looking at November today. All right, Jenny, just give me a call. I'll tell you what we're doing, and you go ahead and book it and get you guys on there. You can start a group up too. I didn't know we were going to have a sales pitch tonight, Tony. That's right. Totally unexpected. So one of the things I do want to talk about, though, this whole thing about, Jenny hasn't been on the ship yet. It kind of leans me into solo traveling. You've been doing a lot of solo traveling of late. I mean, how does that compare, first of all, to sailing with Jenny? And like, what kind of adjustments have you had to make sailing solo?
So I absolutely love cruising with Jenny B the best. Like that's my favorite shipmate. And anytime that she wants to cruise, we cruise together. But I also have this insatiable wanderlust. And so I am, it's an interesting year for me today. I talked about it a little bit on a vlog last week that this is the same age that my dad was when he passed away. And I don't really know what his hopes and aspirations were. I was still a kind of a young punky kid, and we never had conversations on that deep of a level. But because he passed, I realized that life can be short, right? The older you get, the more you're exposed to loss and tragedy, that kind of thing. And so I've been in a weird space this year, and I've just wanted to take as many opportunities that I could and be very deliberate. And so when cruising restarted, I cruised a lot in the Caribbean, that kind of stuff. But for whatever reason, this year has been filled with interesting opportunities. Holland America invited me to go on that cruise, Australia, New Zealand. And then just randomly, I found out about this Rotterdam cruise talking to Doug Parker from Cruise Radio. And so I've really been just trying to be deliberate. Like I'm deliberately going to the UK next. And of course, any of those cruises that Jenny would want to go on, she would go on. But yeah, I think, we live in the same town as a lot of our family members. And so I think she enjoys that aspect of it too, being around family and staying at home a little bit. And so we're very fortunate because we love and support each other in a way to where if she wants to stay home, I'm not going to give her a hard time about staying home. And if I want to go out and, feed that wanderlust, she doesn't give me a hard time about that. And so it's been helpful for what we do from a travel perspective. I'm able to talk to her and help, inform some of the things she does in her business. And then of course it's good for YouTube to be able to, answer a question about Copenhagen because I've been to Copenhagen, that kind of thing. So, but the actual, tactical part of cruising solo, of course, you got more room in the cabin when you're cruising solo. Sometimes you pay a little bit more for your cruise because of the single supplement. It's, you know how life is. Like when you're a couple, you make decisions together as a couple. What time are we going to get together? Go do this, go do that. Right. And then when you're by yourself, you don't, you basically talk to yourself and go, okay, well, I guess I should get up now and go do something. So I'm a little bit of a loner introvert kind of guy anyways. Yeah. Like I'm happy to be a fly on the wall. And I don't have to hang out with a bunch of people on a cruise ship. So I'm very happy by myself and just experiencing, the ship for what it is. And so it's been nice. The times that I've had alone, I've really, I shift my thinking, right? I say, okay, well, now I'm going to be alone. So let's really embrace those alone things. Let's embrace the solitude. Let's embrace the ability just to deep think, that kind of thing. But then when I'm with people, like we're crashing a group cruise and Alaska later, and we're going to be with a lot of people. And so when I'm in a lot of people, I just transition over to like, all right, we're social now, that kind of thing. So, it's, to me, it's just life, man. Like sometimes you're by yourself, sometimes you're with people, and I love it all.
Yeah. And I just want to give a shout out. Thank you, Marvin. I missed your super sticker. Thank you very much for that. I really, really appreciate that. I kind of have a hard time going places without Rebecca. Like she is like my partner. We've been together over 30 years now, and it's kind of hard with it. But at some point I'm going to have to start cruising solo probably. I'm kind of curious, what have you learned traveling solo now? Like, when you go by yourself, what's different, or what do you do differently? Like packing, going, whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not much different, honestly, when we go together or when we go solo. I'm always trying to be as streamlined as possible with my packing. Like I said, I go very minimalist. Sometimes, like I've got like 5 pairs of khaki pants and, 10 of these same black t-shirts, and I'll just put 5 of them in a bag and go, right. Like I really have tried to take any of that overhead out of my thinking, right. Like where I've got like, oh, what am I going to wear? It's very easy for me. I get up and put on the same uniform every day. And so, when I'm by myself or when we're together, the mantra is to pack light. Because we want like the least amount of friction when you're trying to travel to the airport or get on a plane or even embarkation day. And so it's always just the push to be as minimal as possible, but to have as much utility as possible. So it's like for me, I want to make sure I've got the right gear. I'm going through a whole cycle right now of looking at the gear that I have, and I'm going, how can I do the same thing or more with less smaller gear so that I can minimize what I'm doing when it comes to packing.
Sure.
So that's a constant evolution for myself. And same thing for Jenny. We take much less stuff than we used to when it comes to cruising, even when it comes to the medicines and those kind of things that we take. So it's constantly a push to have the frictionless travel experience so that none of that stuff bogs us down.
Absolutely. And we got a question here from Gary. Are there any cruises specifically for singles? I mean, there's probably a singles cruise out there. I don't know, but there are ships or cruise lines that we think of when we think of solo right off the bat. Obviously, Norwegian has their whole solo studio. Virgin Voyages definitely supports solos. Celebrity Edge series actually has solo balconies, which is kind of cool. But something that really surprised me when we dug in deep and we were doing some research, like where are all the solo cabins? Royal Caribbean has like 300 or 400 solo cabins out there. They're just spread out across the fleet, but they even have balconies, like honest to goodness balconies that are just for solos. So
one of my best solo experiences was on Royal Caribbean Spectrum of the Seas, solo balcony. That's what I took from China to Japan. And it was amazing. Like, it was a perfect room. Like, the bed was just big enough for a solo, good workspace, and a really big balcony. It was the best.
Yeah. It's like a square. It's like almost like a square cabin. It's like they just kind of squeezed it in there.
Yeah.
And it was actually a client that told me about that. And once I saw that, I'm like, well, what else do they have? And I started finding all these solo cabins. There's a ton of virtual balcony cabins on them in there too. So yeah, there probably are singles cruises out there, but there are more solo cabins out there than you might realize. So certainly, like if you reach out to somebody like me, or reach out to somebody like Jenny, we can certainly help you find those.
And most of the cruise lines do activities to promote solo get-togethers. Like every night, there's usually a solo cocktail hour. On I think every cruise line that I've been on, you always see it in the program. So cruise lines recognize that people are out there solo traveling and that they want to meet people, and people want to meet each other. And so I think they're trying to do that. But yeah, to your point, there's probably a theme cruise out there that's just solo everybody kind of thing. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, there's a theme for it. There's probably a naked cruise out there. I really don't want to take it, but there's probably a naked cruise.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Hey, Jessica, thank you for the shout out. She's going on cruise, the first cruise without your hubby. You're going out with your mom. I know. I'm so excited for you guys. They're going out on Royal Caribbean, I believe. I think, right? Yeah, I think so. Thanks for the shout out. I really do appreciate that. You got any, just a couple of tips for going solo before I go on to another topic?
I mean, again, just the pack light, you don't have anybody there to help you remember the time. You don't have anybody there to check your documentation. You don't have anybody there to keep you accountable. So you got to bake some processes into your system to make sure that you've got everything that you need, that what time, to come back, that kind of thing. So, just simple stuff. Have a good watch, know where your stuff is at, and be as, agile and tight as possible. And then, say, if you're going to go explore a port by yourself, I do try to connect with somebody, on these excursion days. Like if I'm going on a bus excursion or something, I do try to make a little contact with somebody, whether it be the tour guide, something like that. I try not to really go off on my own without letting somebody know that I'm off on my own, just because, even if you're in port and say, like Jenny B would stay on the ship or something like that, she knows that I'm out there at port. Right. But sometimes when you're by yourself, you don't have that. And so I always try to bake that in. So in case something happens, that kind of thing.
That's good. I like that. I like that a lot. I'm going to transition to my favorite topic besides old fashions, obviously. But my favorite topic is food.
I
love food.
I like food.
And there's cruises that have amazing food. There's cruises that have okay food, but if you go hungry on a cruise ship, you really worked hard at it. It's the way I feel.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if you've had time to think about this. I did shoot you this in advance, but can you rank, what would you say, 10 so far now? Can you rank from like the best food experience to the not so best experience?
As I was thinking about that question when you gave it, I'm like, I don't know if I can rank all 10, but I definitely can accentuate some highlights. When I'm thinking about the best cruise food, I always go back to this sense memory of, the first time that we went on Celebrity, we went on the Celebrity Equinox, and we had a rate reduction as we got closer to that cruise. And they didn't give us any money back. They just kept moving us up in cabin. And so we went from just our regular, I think, balcony. We got moved to concierge. And then eventually we ended up in a spa cabin, which gave us access to the Blue Restaurant.
Okay.
Can you still hear me?
I can hear you, but your camera dropped off.
Yeah, so I'm using this new camera, and I think maybe it got hot. I'm going to turn it off for a second. So I'll just keep talking if you can hear me. All right,
we've got a lovely little dot of you, but go ahead, keep talking.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to let this camera cool off for a second. But so went to the Blue Restaurant. Yeah, I haven't streamed with this camera for an hour before.
Gotcha.
We went to the Blue Restaurant. That was some of the best food I'd had on a cruise ship. Now, essentially, it was included with the spa cabin, but it's like its own little specialty restaurant. And so Celebrity, when you go from the main dining room, when you go to that Blue Restaurant, when you go to their buffet, and then all of their specialty restaurants, Celebrity has a high quality of food. Holland America, surprisingly, I don't know if it's surprising, I think people know this, they have a high level quality of food from the main dining room to the buffet to the specialty. And then again, all of those return me back to Virgin Voyages. Virgin pushing really hard to do something different, different with food. So those are probably my top three right now: Celebrity, Holland America, Virgin. Jenny said we were in the Aqua class, not the Spa class. The Aqua class on Celebrity. Yeah. But yeah, that was it was those three really take the cake, and then. I really want to go back to Virgin and explore those food options. Like I sometimes I wake up thinking about the Mexican restaurant. The food was so good there. So,
Pink agave.
Pink agave was so good.
Yeah. Pink agave is amazing. I'll tell you what, where we had our best meal on our second cruise was Razzle Dazzle.
Razzle Dazzle.
It was a butter chicken.
Oh wow. Yeah,
absolutely.
I like the bacon that they had at Razzle Dazzle.
Oh my God, the bacon. And it's got heat to it. It's got like a spice to it.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Okay, your audio kind of dropped off. It sounds like you're in the next room, just so you know.
Yeah, I walked away from the microphone, but
trying to get your camera going again.
Camera back on, yeah.
Tony, some people say we do our best work in the dark. I don't know.
Absolutely. Let's see what happens if I do start cam.
Oh, wait.
Settings.
I see something happening. I don't know.
We're getting
this is
close.
Live television, folks. This is what happens. I don't know. I've got a logo. I've got an Imaging Edge webcam logo sitting up there. There you are.
That should be back. There we go.
Hey, you're back. How about that?
Hopefully hopefully it'll stay on.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll stay on. Hey, good question, Gary. And we've both been on a bunch of cruise ships. Which line has the best service? I'm sure they're all great. Well, the second part of your question is absolutely 1,000%. I don't think I've had bad service on a cruise yet. They are all great. I'll start, and it's hard to say like best service, but Princess is a step up. Virgin Voyages and actually Disney, I think, is just like beyond belief. What about you, Tony?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Sometimes I had a bad thing on, like, I only been on one Disney cruise, and I had a weird service experience that bummed me out on that Disney cruise. I think the waiter had like a favorite couple or something. We were in one of our dining experiences, and the guy stopped taking my order mid-sentence to go talk to some people that just got seated. So like out of the corner of his eye, he was like, oh, like that kind of thing. And it was like, yeah, I'd like my steak medium. And he was gone. And I was like, okay. I don't know if maybe they tipped him big. I don't know what the deal was, why he didn't like, but that kind of thing. But I'm kind of simple that way. Like,
gotcha.
The challenge for me is like sometimes I get more service than I want. Like I remember very distinctly the first time we went on the Princess cruise ship, the Caribbean Princess. They want to bring you orange juice in the buffet, right? So you're having your buffet breakfast, and they want to bring you orange juice. And so the first guy comes up and says, "Hey, could I get some? Would you like some orange juice?" Yes, I'd like some orange juice. He goes to get your orange juice, and before he gets back, like 4 other people ask you for orange juice. if you want orange juice. And I'm like, okay, that's a good level of service, but at the same time, it's almost too much service. Too much service. And so it's good. I guess it's better to be overserved. This is why I like MSC. Some people don't follow me on this, but MSC, it's a very European type service. They're there to do the things for you that you need to be, to have done. They're not there to really overly get into your business, ask about your life, make a friend. That guy, it's. I don't want the crew members to feel like they have to be my friend. I certainly appreciate the crew members. I've met some wonderful crew members, but it's like I don't want anybody reluctantly trying to have to do that. And so I think that's why I like MSC, because they're just there to serve you. And as long as you're serviced, they're happy and it's not over the top. So I like that aspect of it.
Awesome. Now, I've got another question here. You had to cancel a cruise due to illness. You paid in full, not do a refund. Will you get loyalty credit? Now, you didn't take the cruise, so no, you've actually got to take the cruise, first of all. Second of all, this is why you get travel insurance. Everybody's got to have travel insurance, because one, if you have to cancel the cruise, you will get your refund back if you've got the right policy. But two, I mean, the biggest reason why you get it is because if something were to actually, God forbid, something actually happened to you on the ship, it's going to take care of you. But if you don't actually sail on the ship, you don't get the loyalty points, because your loyalty points are based on the nights on the ship. My understanding. Anyway, so my guess is going to be no. Okay, now how about this? So you don't want to really rank them. Were you able to pick maybe your top, maybe 2 or 5 restaurants so far?
When I think of restaurants that I like to go to, on Royal Caribbean, I like the Park 150 on the Oasis class ships.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's got a really interesting, diverse selection, like, non-traditional proteins, that kind of thing. You get some venison, that kind of stuff. Just coming off the Holland America line, tamarind, I would eat that on every cruise.
My God, it's so good.
So good. Asian fusion, the crispy duck there, pretty amazing. Again, Royal Caribbean, Azumi sushi, one of the better sushi offerings on cruise ships. There's a steakhouse on Carnival, which I don't think it's branded Fahrenheit, whatever their recent branding is, but on the Carnival Liberty, the steakhouse there has probably had some of the best steaks that I've ever had. And of course, the Virgin offerings are pretty amazing. The Pink Agave is one of my favorite restaurants. But there's a lot of great, fortunately for people who like food, there's a lot of great restaurants out there. I can't think of a seafood restaurant I've really loved. Like seafood's hit or miss for me sometimes, and it's I don't think any of the seafood restaurants really rise to the top for me. But I like some of those more kind of off the beaten path type cuisines, that kind of thing.
Nice. So I put a quick list together. Remy on the Disney Fantasy, Crown Grill on my most recent Sky Princess. Food Republic is one of my favorites. That's on the NCL Escape and a few other NCL ships. It's, tapas. Seafood, Rudy Sea Grill. When you get a chance next time on Carnival Mardi Gras Celebration, I think it's going to be on the Jubilee.
Yep.
And then Razzle Dazzle. Those are like but Remy is like far and away on the Disney Fantasy, which is
now that you mentioned Remy, I did have that. I think it was on the Disney. I think it was on the Magic. I think that was my Disney ship. Okay. No, it wasn't Remy. Palo was really good. Yeah. That was a good Disney restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can talk food all day friggin' long. And by the way, I want to say hello to everybody. I know I've just been having a great time talking to Tony. I know a bunch of you are in here, and I thank you so much for joining us tonight. So hello to everybody. Thank you for joining all of us.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Nice. Hey, by the way, how do we do this, Tony? What's the official way to do cruising? I want to make sure I'm doing it right.
So basically, it's not, like I think jazz hands are like this. So this is kind of a wave. I think this is applause for sign language or whatever. But so it's ka-roo. So you start spinning with the roo.
So you
ka-roo.
Okay, everybody raise your hand. Okay, one more time, Tony. Everybody together now. Go ahead, Tony. Show us again.
Everybody, don't we all love carousing?
All right.
There you go. You got it. Absolutely.
Thank you, Tony.
Wonderfully done.
I like this question here. Hey, when tipping on shore excursions, do you need to tip in local currency? Can you use American dollars, or do they have the option of using a credit card? Credit card I've never used.
I say it depends where you're at. So in a lot of the
Yeah.
Caribbean islands, they'll take USD, US dollars, but like in
Yeah.
Europe, that was not the case. They were looking for euros. They were looking for currency, their own currency. The cool thing that when I went to Europe, most everything I paid for was with credit card. Even when I went to Australia, I paid with credit card. You want to make sure that your credit card doesn't charge you exorbitant fees for currency conversion.
Yeah.
Some credit cards are better about that than others, but much of the world is paperless. And so cash is not necessarily king the way it used to be.
Right.
And so you want to make sure that you have a couple credit cards in case one doesn't work. But yeah, you can get around all of Europe and all of that. But yeah, when it came to tipping, the cool thing on the Rotterdam is they would convert money for you. Even also when we went to, so they would do US dollars into euros, into pounds when we were in the UK. When I was in Australia, they would do conversion into Australian and New Zealand currency. And so take $100 or something and get the currency if you want to make sure that you tip the drivers. Again, some places it's not a tipping culture, so you got to do that kind of thought process, that kind of research. One thing that is true, and I want to mention this for people that like to go to the casino, all the casinos for the U.S. based cruise lines, like it's USD. I saw this time and time again where folks would come up with their euros and they wanted to buy into a game. They could not do it on the cruise ship. They had to either charge it to their room or come back with United States currency. So I don't think everybody realizes that, but most of your bills are settled I think the people that originated like in Rotterdam, Amsterdam, their bill was in euros. But for the most part, if your cruise originates in the U.S., it's going to be in U.S. dollars.
That's really cool. That's a great tip, Tony. Thank you for that. That's awesome. That's awesome. And hello, everybody. I see some new people tuning in. Got Slinky something. Inkling. Nice to see you. Hi, Julie. Controversial cruising. Hey, everybody. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Tony, you've been awesome. Thank you for coming out here tonight. So
thanks for having me.
I got a couple more things here, and this, I think it's going to be fun. So on a cruise, let's talk about a cruise first. Money is absolutely no object. What is the bucket list cruise for Tony?
I think I guess it may be an easy cop out, but I think a world cruise would be the bucket list. Like if money was no object, give me
a cop out. Are you kidding me?
Give me, give me 200 days, 300 days where I'm going to visit most of the continents, where I'm going to stop at 50 different ports. I think that's, we Jenny and I have talked about it. As we get older, I would love somewhere between the age of 55 and 60 to go on a world cruise, right? But they're expensive. I mean, honestly though, like per day, it may not be as expensive, but you're chunking together like, 300 days or 100 days or whatever. I think that would be it for me. I would like to go to a world cruise that goes to kind of all of the hot spots. Part of me, I kind of thought I wanted to do like expedition cruising to the Arctic or something like that. I've seen a few videos of that. It's a little hit or miss. Like it looks kind of fun, but then I see people like, oh, we didn't get to do this, or we just rode a Zodiac and looked at an ice block. So it's kind of like, it would probably be exciting, but I think, traveling all the big sites around the world on one cruise, I think would be probably my bucket list. Yeah.
Why would that be a cop out? I mean, that's amazing. That is basically your whole bucket list in one shot, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're basically saying I want to do it all at once, but yeah.
And I mean, and if money is no object, you might as well do it on Regent 7 Seas, right?
Regent 7 Seas, one of the nice brands, something like that. So I want unlimited money to cruise and then unlimited money to gamble. So I want a cruise ship with a casino too.
So 1-800 call Tony to sponsor his world cruise. So
that's right, absolutely.
I think for me, you talk about the expedition. I've really been leaning into Hurtigruten expeditions. I've been learning more and more about them. And they have a pole to pole that goes from like North Pole to South Pole. I'm like, man, if money was no object, that's the one I would probably do first.
I am fascinated by their cruise ship, the Roald Amundsen, that first hybrid electric. Yeah. So I could see trying that out. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll go together. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Be totally killer. Okay. So how about just overall, like, money is no object. It could be a cruise. It can be a train. It can be land. It can be anything you want it to be. What would that be, do you think?
So it's hard to say because I've only experienced a few places in the world, but the places that I've experienced is really interesting. So it becomes a question of would I like to return to a spot that I've been to before for a longer period of
Hmm.
time, or would I
Yeah.
like to explore something new? I do like this idea as we get to a place where we can work from anywhere, where vocation isn't a limiting factor
Right.
at being a 50-year-old. I kind of like the idea of like going and spending months at a time somewhere. So I would love to go back to Japan for a month, right? Like if money was no object and I could just go and really explore all these different towns in Japan, it'd probably take more than a month. Obviously, I'd like to do
Yeah.
that. I do have a big desire to go to the Holy Land. I'd like to go to Israel. I'd like to go to that part of
Mm,
the Mediterranean for an extended period of time. But
sure.
even something simple like I would love to live in Las Vegas for a month, or I'd love to live right in the heart of New York. I'd like to live right in the heart of New York City for a month. So there's
Yeah.
you start to realize that the world is so big and that the experiences are so boundless. Um,
Right.
you know,
Right.
I mean, I'm not super into nature, but maybe living in some isolated mountain for a month would be fun. But I think if you gave me the opportunity tomorrow to say, "Hey, you can go live somewhere for a month," I would pack
Yeah.
up my stuff and Jenny B, and we'd go live in Japan for a month. So
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. And if you haven't
yeah,
seen it yet, by the way, on Amazon, James May, Our Man in Japan, you should watch that.
oh, I'll check
It'll
that
give you
out.
some great ideas. It'll give you some great ideas. So for me, one of the exciting things about becoming a travel agent is learning about like so many things that are out there. And there's one particular tour company that's really blown me away. It's one of those things where like it's 14 days in southern India, like
Oh
a
wow,
country that I would have no idea what I'm doing, right?
yeah, yeah,
But basically, from the time you land, they take care of you. They're going to take you to places, they're going to take you to places to eat and things like that. And that, for me, if I just had unlimited funds right now,
yeah.
I would go to India for at least 2 weeks, maybe more.
That's pretty interesting. Let me ask. Let me throw this question at you then. So, where
Yeah,
are
go
where
for
are
it.
you in life with cruising versus land vacations? Is it a 50-50 with you? Do you lean more heavily? My
Yeah,
camera overheated again.
that's all
Does it
right. Go
lean
for it.
does it lean more heavily on cruising? I struggle with that, right? I saw my friend
Yeah,
Don the other day talking about being in Disney and everything costing him hundreds of dollars, and it made me remember why I really like cruising. But at the same
yeah,
time, I really like traveling. So I'm constantly
yeah.
wondering whether I'm always going to be a cruiser or whether that will transition into 3 weeks here, 4 weeks there. Well,
It's a
what
great
do you think about?
question. Yeah, I mean, cruising is usually more cost effective, obviously. But when you start getting into some of these places like cruising to Japan or cruising to Australia or cruising to, outside of the Caribbean, shall we say, or outside the Mexican Riviera, or even outside of Alaska, you find out that you can get land tours that are kind of close, or maybe they are more expensive. But the one thing that I do remember distinctly about going to Alaska, we did the land sea tours. We did 7 days in the Princess Lodges, and then we did 7 days on the ship. And where we really experienced Alaska was actually on land. That's where
Hmm.
we saw the moose. That's where we saw the bears. That's where we saw, all the eagles. That's where we saw a lot of stuff. And now, as much as I love cruising, now I'm just about, well, I want to go see these places. And when I see a tour like this come up and it's reasonably priced, it's like, well, yeah, I could take a cruise to Australia or I could go to India for 2 weeks. I might lean into going to India. But I'm like you, I'm
Right.
a traveler. I want to travel.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's tough decisions, but the cool thing again with being able to carve out a vocation in travel,
Yeah.
carve out a vocation in entertainment, it really
Hmm.
does give you some possibilities. Like as long as the internet connection's strong, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't have to be either or, right? Maybe it can be both,
Yeah.
right? Maybe it
Yeah.
can be a few months of cruising and a few months of land destination. So
Yeah.
I think we're at a very unique time in history and a very lucky time in history where we have those opportunities. So, yeah, who
I
knows
think
what the
so.
future holds? Yeah,
Yeah, who knows what the future holds? And I mean, if you would have told me a year ago I was going to be a travel agent right now, I would have laughed at you. No freaking way. But here we are, and now I'm working alongside people like Jenny, and I'm very proud to be doing this and talking to people like you, which is just absolutely amazing, Tony. Even though I can't see you at the moment, but it's truly an honor. And Tony, we've been going almost an hour, which is probably why your camera's like, no more. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I want to throw one more question out before we will have to wrap it up, because I told you I was only going to keep you here an hour. I don't want to keep you too long. But I believe this is Scott. He's going on his first Alaska cruise this summer. Watches both of our videos. What's the one thing I can't leave the ship for Alaska without doing? Tony, why don't you start that one?
Yeah, this one's easy. If you go to Alaska, you got to go whale watching. There's just no reason not to go whale watching. And
Right.
to me, I didn't know that I would like Alaska. I thought, I'm going to be bored in Alaska. It's just a bunch of nature, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I went there and I saw whales, and it changed me. It changed me to a way that I was like, I got to go to Alaska forever now. And so this will be my third year in a row in Alaska, and the whale watching did it. But then, everybody's like, oh, you got to go to Norway and cruise the fjords. And what you start to realize is that Alaska is just a bunch of fjords. So like you can see that fjord life by going to Alaska. So it's some of the most serene, beautiful, crisp cruising. You just stand on your balcony and you breathe air. And it's you just don't know how great that is. And it really is great. And then you go see wildlife that you've maybe only seen on TV, or you go to a town that's, bases their living off of tourism or salmon. And it's a different experience, and you really get an appreciation for it. So I highly recommend Alaska.
Yeah, and to me, it's kind of like a river cruise on a very big river ship, because you're kind of close to land the whole time. Unsolicited pitch, but Harv and Marv in Juneau, small boats, like 6 to 20 people. That's it. Highly recommend them. And then the other thing that I would say, if you can do it, it's expensive, but in Skagway, Temsco helicopters, you can take a helicopter to a dog sled camp and actually ride with the dogs in the snow.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Oh my God. Yeah. So the only thing I will warn you, though, sometimes it gets canceled because the clouds are low, but then they'll give you the option to fly to a glacier, which is what we did. We landed on a glacier. We hung out on a glacier for like an hour or whatever. So yeah, so those two things, whale watching and some sort of a helicopter.
Wow. Yeah. I'd like to do the helicopter. I got rained out the last time. So I actually had a helicopter booked in Juneau last year. And the rain and the clouds, safety
That's the
first,
thing, man.
of course.
Alaska's going to rain. Folks.
Yeah.
It could rain. So
it's weird. I was there 2 weeks in a row, and 1 week I got sunburnt. I wore short pants and short sleeves, got sunburnt, and then the next week it was cold and rainy. So it's unpredictable. Man. Yeah.
That's one good word for Alaska. Very unpredictable. It could be 35 in the morning and 80 in the afternoon, and you're like, what the heck, man?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Tony, it's been an hour. I don't want to keep you any longer. Thank you so very much for coming out here tonight.
Well, I appreciate you having me, Walter. It's of course, we've gotten to know each other a little bit over the last little bit, and I really do appreciate what you're doing, and appreciate your contributions to this community that we're all a part of. And so I look forward to continuing to watch and see what you do and continue to do stuff with you. And so thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you, and Tony, you are like one of the best ambassadors, I think, to the entire industry. What you do, your stuff is just fun as all get out, man. I mean, I don't know if you realize just how much fun you make cruising. You really do.
Thank you, man. I do my best. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in tonight on Where's Walter Chat Live. Lido Loca, Tony. Can't thank you enough. Jenny B, please think about it. November 18th, maybe please come along with us. But again, thank you, Tony. Thank you to everybody out there for watching. I'll be back on Thursday nights here. I'll be Sunday mornings at 10:30 over on TikTok. Tony, you got regular lives that you do? When are you on?
We're less regular recently because of all of the travel, and we changed our times a few times, but I'll go ahead and make the announcement here. When we do come back live, we're going to go back to our regular 9 o'clock Tuesday night slot. It's where we've lived there for a long time. So we're going to go back to it maybe next week or the week after, but we're trying to get back to the regular live schedule. Love going live, love talking to the people, and
so much fun.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
So much fun. Well, thank you guys for coming along. Thank you, Tony, and everybody out there. Y'all have an amazing evening.
Thanks, everybody.